Happy Bitcoin Day! This is all about Bitcoin, a show dedicated to all things questions and markets related to Bitcoin, little b for the currency, and Bitcoin, big B for the network. A collective journey to understand, apply, and use this innovation, all Bitcoin, all the time. I'm your host, Christine Lee. Let's check in on Bitcoin. Crypto's top coin by market cap is having a volatile day. Starting off the wee hours of the morning in New York, just under $53,000. Now the CoinDesk Bitcoin price XBX index is pulling back at $46,980. Bitcoin is down about 9.3% over the past 24 hours. Taking a look at our top stories, Bitcoin is officially legal tender in El Salvador. That's the story of the day, 3 months after the Bitcoin law passed the country's legislature. While the move marks a world first, El Salvador's president, Nayib Bukele, is tweeting the Bitcoin process in the country comes with a learning curve. Indeed, a couple of hiccups as the Bitcoin law goes underway. Bukele tweeting that the government-run Chivo digital wallet has been temporarily disabled in order to increase server capacity. Hours ago, Bukele tweeted an update saying the Chivo wallet was ready to be downloaded again from Apple's App Store for a large-scale test. And finally, crypto payments firms are rushing into El Salvador. Sometimes called the Stripe of crypto, crypto payments provider Flexa has launched Lightning Network payments with select partners and merchants in El Salvador using wallets such as Strike and Chivo. Flexa is not alone. Lightning firm OpenNode is powering a McDonald's integration that briefly went viral today. One customer tweeting, "Just walked into a McDonald's in El Salvador to see if I could pay for my breakfast with Bitcoin. To be honest, fully expecting to be told no, but lo and behold, they printed a ticket with a QR code that took me to a web page with Lightning invoice. And now I'm enjoying my desayuno tradicional." All right, and joining me now from El Salvador on the ground to discuss is Peter McCormack, host of What Bitcoin Did, the podcast. Welcome to the show, Peter. So you're in El Salvador. Give me a sense of the mood, the atmosphere in the country right now.
Hi, Christine. Good to see you again. I was sat in the same seat last time we spoke. Yes, it's mixed, very, very mixed. There is people are very positive about what's happening here in El Salvador with Bitcoin, but there is also some dissenting voices. So it's quite a mixed picture. There is the opposition who's very anti-Bitcoin, but really they're anti-Bukele. My belief is if Bukele had banned Bitcoin in the country, they would be protesting to have it legal. But mainly their protests are around some of his recent decisions with regard to, say, the Supreme Court and his ability to run a second term, which is essentially a change to what's in the Constitution. So there is that group. It is a small group. I've been to a couple of the protests, and we're talking hundreds of people. Then you've got the pro-Bukele people who are very positive about this, are very positive about Bitcoin. You've got the Bitcoin people who are very positive about this. And then in the middle, there's this kind of very large mixed group who have a range of views, but mainly are saying, look, we're not anti-Bitcoin. We're just anti having Bitcoin forced on us. And some people saying that they just require more education. So I've been out to the markets, I've been to the malls, I've been trying to understand who's going to be accepting Bitcoin. Now down in the markets, it's almost everybody's saying, no, we don't understand it, we don't know anything about it. No, but that's fine. That's what you would expect.
Well, we actually have some photos that posted on Twitter from Gladys Arden, I believe. Here's some photos of you. So maybe you can explain what's happening here, what you've been seeing in the markets.
So this is a traditional El Salvador market where people are trading, buying fruit and veg and fish and meats. What you find in most cities, pretty much every single person I spoke to here, just their main points is like, we just don't understand this. We've been provided no education. But I also took a visit to the mall, went to some of the big chains and spoke to the store managers. And all these people were very positive, said, look, we're ready. We understand the law. We will be ready to accept Bitcoin. And so what I think is going to happen here is I think it's kind of a little bit of carrot and stick. The stick is the law for the big retailers, the chains, the Starbucks, your McDonald's, who just want to follow the law, and they've all essentially implemented it today. And then I think it's a little bit carrot for all the population and also the people in the markets and the street vendors, whereby they can download the Chivo app, receive their $30 of Bitcoin, and they can get an understanding of it. There is some ideas around that the president will be or let's say the president, the government will be penalizing those people who don't follow the law. When I met with him and spoke with him, he said that's not true. He's going to give people time. So it's a very mixed picture. I think it's mainly positive, but I think whatever your bias is, you can easily be dragged to a different side of the story.
Yeah. So nearly 70% of Salvadorans surveyed by the Central American University in a poll released last week either disagreed or strongly disagreed with using Bitcoin as legal tender, though about 90% also did not have a clear understanding of Bitcoin. So where is that sentiment coming from? Would you say that's pretty accurate? And what is going to be done to, educate people and get them to be more comfortable with Bitcoin?
I mean, look, I think there's some PTSD from when the country dollarized from the colon. I think it was about 20 years ago. So I think there's some PTSD about this and some nervousness. El Salvador has a history of presidents who have and administrations which have stolen from the people and have been corrupt. And whatever you think of Michele, he's very much focused on economic policy, which opens up new economic freedoms and opportunity for the country. But Bitcoin's a confusing thing, and we see it when the mainstream media reports on it. They usually talk a load of nonsense, talk about spreading the FUD. So I think if you're very new to Bitcoin and you're trying to understand it and you think the government's bringing this law into force, perhaps in your research you've read things that have made you nervous. You haven't had the time to really kind of understand what it is. And if you're distrusting a government, you're going to be perhaps distrusting of a new currency as you fear that maybe the currency you hold will become devalued. I think that's natural. I think over time, as people come to understand Bitcoin, they won't see it as the big scary beast that they think it might be and see it as an opportunity for them. But I would also, on those polls, want to see the questions and see how it's worded. Sometimes those questions can lead people to give you a certain kind of a response. But I think that's only natural. It's very easy to focus on the negative, but there's lots of positives that can be focused on here as well.
And Peter, you mentioned you've been talking to President Bukele. What is in his mind right now? What's his line of thinking?
Oh, I haven't spoken to him yet on this trip. I'm hopefully meeting with him tomorrow because I've got a lot of questions I want to ask him. I have questions with regards to governance and Bitcoin and some important questions.
Sure.
So hopefully I'll get a chance to sit down with him tomorrow and talk about it. But I was referring back to when I spoke to him last time,
right.
And he said that there wouldn't be penalties for people who don't adopt Bitcoin as acceptance on day one. And yeah, I haven't heard of anyone being arrested yet for not accepting Bitcoin, and I don't expect to hear about that.
The Chivo wallet is a government-run. Some criticize it for government-run wallets. Some criticize it for being centralized dollar accounts. I wonder what your thoughts are on that.
Yeah, look, it's a good question. The idea of having a custodial wallet versus a non-custodial wallet. In an ideal world, everybody would use a non-custodial wallet. But there's a few things we have to think about, like in practical terms. The speed of turnaround on this project and delivering the wallet was done in weeks. And essentially speaking, it's almost like a government Cash App wallet whereby you have dollars and Bitcoin held custodially. And most people are happy with Cash App in the US. I think the main difference is Cash App is privately run, whereas this is a government-run wallet. But there is the ability to move Bitcoin off the wallet. There is some confusion around this. Some people said it's not possible. Some people said it is possible once it's moved, like it's made one hop. So once you've spent it, then that can be taken out of the wallet. And I think over time people will start to look at other wallets and other options that they can use here, and that'll become part of the education. I think ideally the Chivo wallet would be moved into a private company to be managed, because I think of it as a private company, it has that separation between the data and the government. There's some fears around centralization, but also centralization of the data where people are making purchases through the app.
Along those lines, Peter, the presidential legal advisor, Javier Argueto, confirmed that it will be mandatory to have an electronic wallet to receive payments in Bitcoin. Do you agree with this hardline adoption?
Look, in an ideal world, all forms of Bitcoin usage would be voluntary, with you able to use any app you want. Forcing people to use specific apps, I think it comes with complications. I think if, like I say, in an ideal world, if the wallets were privately run and they were separated between the government and the separation between the government and the people, that I think that would be like a preferable situation. But this was a fast project. This project was turned around in a matter of weeks. So I think it's unsurprising, but if I was talking to the president, I would be asking if they would consider.
It was a monumental task myself, Peter. And I noticed that you had tweeted, so many people want Nayib Bukele to fail, the IMF, World Bank, US government, EU. So what happens if he succeeds?
Well, there's big questions around that. Like, what is success? I was talking about it with somebody this morning, discussing specifically with regards to the recent announcement of the Supreme Court saying he will be able to run for a second term. And I think what's happening there is this single term for a Bitcoin project essentially gives it another 2.5 years, and perhaps Bitcoin goes into a bear market. And I think it's 2.5 years is a too short a timescale to measure this project. So I think if you're going to measure the success of this project, I think you have to give it a full cycle, which is about 4 to 5 years from now, to see the impact, see the adoption rate, see if people have understood Bitcoin, see what's happened to the value of the Bitcoin that the government holds. I mean, they've bought 550 coins already. They're continuing to purchase. If their own bags manage to do a 10x, perhaps they have a nice pocket of Bitcoin, which allows them to clear some of their debt.
Well, what's interesting is that a lot of other countries have been watching El Salvador, other countries in Latin America, and now they're trying to come up with their own ideas, maybe stimulate some business, encourage some people to invest in El Salvador once they see that they are dabbling into digital innovation.
Well, Christine, what I would throw in there is, like, you don't want to be the last to buy Bitcoin. And essentially, as El Salvador, if you separate thoughts on the government, because I think there are fair questions with regards to the Bukele administration, he's essentially created the microstrategy of countries. They're the first in, and they have potentially the benefits of every other country. They benefit from every other country that comes after them. And you've got to, if you're running another government right now, you've got to be looking over the border and thinking, what is it they're up to? And there's so much excitement around the country, and there's so much investment going into the country. Tourism's picking up. You've got to be looking and thinking, well, there's a number of incentives to also be considering Bitcoin. I know Panama's looking, although I think they're considering shitcoins too. But other countries are looking into this. Panama, we've heard talk of Honduras, Ecuador, Brazil, Argentina, a lot within this kind of South and Central American area of the world. So,
all looking for ways for greater access to financial markets. Peter, it's always a pleasure talking to you. I always feel like we can continue on for longer conversations, but we've got to wrap it there. And I appreciate you coming on nevertheless. We'll continue to monitor the situation, and we'll be watching what you are observing as well. Thank you very much, Peter.
Okay, thank you.
All right. That was Peter McCormack, the host of What Bitcoin Did, the podcast. The chart of the day is brought to you by Crypto.com, the world's fastest growing crypto app. All right, Bitcoin tumbling over 11%, the most since May, leading a broad retreat from digital assets, even as bullish investors herald El Salvador's official adoption of Bitcoin as legal tender. At one point during today's sell-off, BTC tumbled as low as 42,900. The sell-off triggered liquidations of billions of dollars of trading positions due to margin calls across both centralized and decentralized exchanges. About 3 billion of liquidations were recorded in the past few hours, according to website Bybit. One perspective is that the correction might help reset crypto markets, with excessively leveraged trading positions getting shaken out. All major cryptocurrencies are in the red. This despite a global campaign by crypto advocates to buy $30 worth of Bitcoin to commemorate the occasion they're calling Bitcoin Day, and El Salvador's President Nayib Bukele tweeting he is buying the dip with 150 new coins added, later adding that El Salvador now holds 550 Bitcoin, which is almost worth $26 million at the current prices. All right, joining us now to discuss is Michele Schneider, managing partner of Marketgauge in New Mexico. Welcome, Michele. So El Salvador is on a Bitcoin buying spree. There is a global $30 Bitcoin buying campaign. So why are we seeing this pullback in the markets right now?
First of all, I believe that that's more emblematic than actually a real influence to the crypto market and to Bitcoin specifically. So I'm kind of certain that's why you're not really seeing that have a big bullish impact. There's some technical reasons. You can actually almost say today was a bit of a flash crash. But when you have to step back and really understand what happened after that. So you had a lot of people looking to liquidate, particularly as Bitcoin was breaking down under 50,000, taking profits. And there was also a tremendous amount of buying on the dip. So we're at like about 46,000 now. So from 42 to 46, 4,000, that type of volatility is something we have not seen in a while. I think the biggest fallout from it was a lot of the exchanges that had trouble handling the amount of volume that came in. So once the dust settles, I believe that we will see the dust settle. Then, and also today, by the way, is an interesting day because it's also a holiday. A Jewish holiday. And so a lot of people are home, maybe not in front of their computers at their offices, but certainly trading. So that could have added to the volatility as well. But anyway, nonetheless, that's more of an aside. I think now we're looking at a new type of situation where we've got a new number to look at. I was looking at 44,000. So today the low was 42,000, make that little bit of adjustment. And I think we're back at looking at 50,000 as sort of the area that needs to clear to get buyers back in.
So summer is over, kids are going back to school, traders getting back to the trading desks. What's your outlook for the next 3 months to the end of the year?
In Bitcoin specifically, or just in all coins in general?
Bitcoin, Michele.
Okay. Well, we have to mention some of the other coins in relative to Bitcoin because it has lost market cap compared to some of the others. Certainly Ethereum. And then today we saw an interesting jockeying for sixth position between XRP and Solana, which actually at some point today was at new all-time highs. And so all things Bitcoin, I think, is blinders if we don't look at the whole cryptocurrency space. But looking specifically at the cryptocurrency, I think what El Salvador did, like I said, is somewhat emblematic, somewhat bold. I really enjoyed listening to Peter McCormack, by the way. He made so much sense and explained a lot. And I think what he said really is true. People still do not really understand the idea of store of value. They don't really understand how regulations could impact this. Gensler, of course, has been sitting at the bully pit talking about regulation, yet the whole idea, of course, is the DeFi. So I do believe we could see a little period here of volatility before we settle in, but my outlook is still very bullish overall.
Price prediction for the end of the year?
Good question. Let me go into my crystal ball here. I would probably say, I think we could be somewhere around 65 to 75,000.
All right. We'll have to take a look. Michele, always a pleasure. That was Marketgauge Managing Partner Michele Schneider. That's it for All About Bitcoin. I'm your host, Christine Lee. Join us tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. in New York for First Mover, your first look at the day's global crypto news headlines. You're watching CoinDesk TV.